I need you to stay with me for a moment, because somebody in this room, somebody reading these words right now, is in the middle of something they didn't ask for. The wind is loud, the waves are high, and if you're being honest, you're not sure how much longer you can hold on. But can I tell you something nobody told me when I was in my storm? The storm didn't come to take you out. It came to take you somewhere. See, we've been taught to pray the storm away, to beg God to make it stop, make it calm, make it quiet. And there's nothing wrong with that prayer. But what if the storm is not your enemy? What if the very thing you've been crying about is actually the thing God is using to carry you into the next version of yourself? I'm not talking about the version of you that has it all together. I'm talking about the version of you that comes out on the other side knowing who you really are. Knowing whose you really are. The storm in your life is not there to destroy you. It is there to develop you. And before this is over, I believe with everything in me that you're going to stop running from it and start walking through it. Because you're going to finally understand that you were never meant to drown. You were built to go through. Let's get into it. There is something deeply human about the way we respond to pain. The moment life gets hard, the moment the ground shifts beneath our feet and everything we thought was stable starts to shake, our first instinct is to ask why. Why is this happening to me? Why now? Why again? And underneath that question, if we're really being honest, is a deeper belief that we must have done something wrong, that this pain is a consequence, that this storm is God's way of turning his back on us, of pulling his hand away, of saying you messed up, and now you're going to feel it. But I want to challenge that belief today. I want to go right to the root of that thinking and pull it out, because it has kept too many people stuck in shame when they should have been standing in faith. It has kept too many people apologizing to God for their existence when they should have been trusting him in their process. The storm you are in right now is not a punishment. It is a process, and there is a massive difference between the two. A punishment is meant to make you pay. A process is meant to make you grow. A punishment looks back at what you did wrong. A process looks forward at who you are becoming. A punishment is rooted in anger. A process is rooted in purpose. And when you don't know the difference, you will spend the entire storm trying to figure out what you did to deserve it, instead of asking God what he is trying to develop inside of you through it. Think about the way a diamond is formed. It doesn't come out of the ground looking the way it looks in the jewelry store. It starts as carbon, deep in the earth, under extreme heat, under extreme pressure, in complete darkness for an incredibly long time. Nobody looks at a diamond and says that stone must have done something terrible to deserve all that pressure. No, we understand that the pressure was not a penalty. The pressure was the process that produced something rare, something valuable, something beautiful. And what God is doing in your life right now is not so different from that. The pressure you are feeling, the heat you are under, the darkness you are sitting in, it is not because he is punishing you. It is because he is producing something in you that cannot be formed any other way. We have to stop reading our pain as a sign of God's displeasure and start reading it as a sign of his intentionality. Because here is what I know about God. He does not waste anything, not one tear, not one sleepless night, not one moment of confusion or heartbreak or loss. He is a God who takes every single piece of your story, even the painful parts, especially the painful parts, and he weaves them together for a purpose that is bigger than your current understanding. But you have to be willing to trust the process even when you cannot see the purpose. And I know that's not easy. I know what it feels like to be in a season where nothing makes sense, where you prayed and things got harder, where you did the right thing and still lost, where you gave your best and it still wasn't enough. And in those moments, it is so tempting to conclude that God is not for you, that maybe you are the exception to his promises, that everybody else gets the blessing and you just get the burden. But that is a lie. And it is a lie that the enemy wants you to believe, because if he can convince you that your storm is punishment, he can keep you from ever discovering what your storm is producing. Because here is the truth. God does not send storms to destroy his children. He sends storms, or he allows storms to disrupt the comfortable places in us that have stopped growing, to shake loose the things we have been holding on to that were never meant to be permanent, to push us out of shallow waters and into the deep places where our faith has no choice but to grow. The storm is not the end of your story. The storm is often the turning point of your story. It is the chapter that everything else references. It is the moment that defines the before and the after. Look at the people in Scripture who carried the greatest testimonies. Joseph didn't get to his palace without going through the pit. He didn't get to the palace without going through the prison. And if you had caught Joseph in the middle of either one of those places, it would have looked like punishment. It would have looked like God had forgotten him. It would have looked like his dreams were dead and his destiny was a lie. But it wasn't punishment. It was a process. Every single painful stop on Joseph's journey was shaping something in him, teaching him something, positioning him for something that he could not have handled if he had gotten there any other way. And the same is true for you. The detour you are on right now is not a dead end. The delay you are experiencing is not a denial. The difficulty you are walking through is not a sign that God has changed his mind about you. It is a sign that he is serious about where he is taking you. It is a sign that the destination he has for you requires a version of you that hasn't fully arrived yet. And the storm is part of how he is forming that version. So I need you to shift the way you are looking at what you are going through. Stop asking God why he is punishing you and start asking him what he is preparing you for. Stop trying to get out of the process as fast as possible and start asking what you are supposed to learn while you are in it. Because the moment you stop fighting the process and start trusting it, everything changes. Not necessarily your circumstances, not right away, but your perspective. And a shift in perspective in the middle of a storm is one of the most powerful things that can happen to a person. There is a moment in every person's life where they come face to face with something that feels like it was specifically designed to destroy them, not just inconvenience them, not just slow them down, but completely and totally take them out. And in that moment, when the weight of what you are carrying feels like it is more than your shoulders were ever built to hold, something inside of you starts to whisper that maybe this is it. Maybe this is the thing that finally finishes you. Maybe you are not as strong as you thought you were. Maybe you are not going to make it through this one. And I want to talk to that whisper today, because that voice has been lying to too many people for too long. And it is time to expose it for what it is. Because here is what nobody tells you when you are in the middle of being broken. The breaking is not the end of you. The breaking is the beginning of a version of you that is stronger, deeper, more rooted, and more real than the version that existed before the pressure came. What is trying to break you is not destroying your foundation. It is actually laying one. It is going into the places inside of you that were built on sand, on performance, on people's approval, on temporary things. And it is tearing all of that down so that something unshakable can be built in its place. We talk a lot about strength in the church. We celebrate the people who look strong. We admire the ones who seem like nothing can touch them. But real strength, the kind that actually lasts, the kind that carries you through the hardest seasons of your life, that kind of strength is never found in the absence of struggle. It is always, always forged inside of it. You do not discover what you are made of when everything is going well. You discover what you are made of when everything is falling apart and you are still standing. Think about the process of building muscle. When you go to the gym and you lift weights, what is actually happening in your body is not what it looks like on the surface. On the surface, it looks like you are getting stronger in the moment. But what is actually happening is that the muscle fibers are being torn. They are experiencing tiny fractures under the resistance. And it is in the healing of those fractures, in the recovery after the resistance, that the muscle grows back thicker, denser, and stronger than it was before. The resistance did not weaken the muscle. The resistance, as painful as it was, is exactly what the muscle needed to become more than it was. And God operates the same way in the lives of his people. He allows resistance because he knows what resistance produces. He allows the pressure because he can see what the pressure is building. And from where you are standing, deep in the middle of the fracture, deep in the middle of the tearing, it does not feel like growth. It feels like destruction. It feels like loss. It feels like everything you built is crumbling. But from where God is standing, he can see the muscle. He can see the strength that is forming in the very places that feel the most broken right now. I think about the times in my own life when I was convinced that what I was going through was going to be the thing that ended me. The shame I carried felt like a weight that would never lift. The mistakes I made felt like they had permanently disqualified me. The pain I experienced felt like it had broken something inside of me that could never be repaired. And in those seasons, I was not thinking about growth. I was just trying to survive. I was not thinking about purpose. I was just trying to get through the day. But looking back now, I can see so clearly that every single one of those moments that I thought was breaking me was actually building something in me that I could not have gotten any other way. Because here is what the breaking does that nothing else can do. It strips away everything that was never really you to begin with. It removes the masks. It dismantles the performance. It takes away the things you were using to define yourself that were always too fragile to hold the weight of your real identity. And when all of that is stripped away, when you are standing there with nothing left to hide behind, you find out who you actually are, not who people told you you were, not who your past said you were, not who your failures said you were, but who God created you to be before the world got a hold of you and started editing you. That is what the breaking produces, an authenticity that cannot be faked, a depth that cannot be manufactured, a compassion that only comes from having been in the place of needing it yourself. You cannot give what you have never received, and you cannot speak to a level of pain you have never visited. But when you have been broken, really broken, and you have come through it, you carry something inside of you that becomes a lifeline for someone else. Your survival becomes someone else's blueprint. Your testimony becomes someone else's permission slip to believe that they can make it too. And this is why the enemy works so hard to make the breaking feel permanent. Because he knows that if you ever get to the other side of it, if you ever come through it with your faith intact and your identity secured in God, you become dangerous. Not dangerous in a harmful way, but dangerous to every lie he has ever tried to tell about who you are and what you are capable of. A person who has been broken and rebuilt by God is one of the most powerful forces on this earth, because they know from personal experience that God can restore what looks completely beyond repair. So I need you to stop looking at what is breaking you as evidence that you are weak. It is not weakness that puts you in hard places. Sometimes it is the very opposite. Sometimes God allows the pressure to come to the people he knows are strong enough to handle it, not because he is being cruel, but because he knows what they are going to look like on the other side of it. He knows the capacity that is being built. He knows the character that is being formed. He knows the story that is being written in real time through every tear, every setback, every moment that felt like it was going to be the end. The thing that is trying to break you right now does not have the final word over your life. It does not get to decide what you become. It does not get to determine where your story ends, because you are not just being broken down. You are being broken open. And everything that God has placed inside of you, every gift, every calling, Every ounce of purpose that has been waiting for the right moment to come out, it is coming out through this. It is being released through the very pressure that you have been praying to escape. There is something so appealing about a calm life, a life where nothing goes wrong, where the bills are paid and the relationships are healthy, and the path ahead is clear and predictable, where you wake up every morning knowing exactly what the day is going to look like, and nothing ever surprises you, and nothing ever hurts you, and nothing ever pushes you past the place where you feel comfortable and in control. And if we are being completely honest, that is the life most of us have been praying for. That is the version of peace that we have been chasing. The kind where nothing is hard and nothing is heavy, and nothing ever asks more of us than we feel ready to give. But I need to say something that might be uncomfortable for some people in this room, that life, as beautiful as it sounds, as much as we want it, will never take you where God is trying to take you. Calm water feels safe. Calm water feels restful. But calm water does not develop you. Calm water does not stretch you. Calm water does not produce the kind of person who can carry the weight of the destiny God has placed on your life. And if you spend all of your energy trying to keep your life calm, you will stay comfortable, but you will never become who you were created to be. Because destiny is not found in the shallow end. Destiny is out in the deep, and you cannot get to the deep without leaving the shore. You cannot get to the deep without going through the place where the water gets rough and the waves get high and your feet can no longer touch the bottom. And that transition, that moment between the safety of the shore and the fullness of the deep, that is the most terrifying and the most necessary part of the entire journey. We see this so clearly in the life of Peter. Here is a man who walked on water, literally. A man who stepped out of a boat in the middle of a storm and defied every natural law because his eyes were fixed on Jesus. But we forget something very important about that moment. Jesus did not call Peter out of the boat on a calm day. He did not say, "Peter, come to me when the water is still and the wind is quiet and conditions are perfect." No. The storm was already raging when Jesus showed up. The waves were already high. The wind was already loud. And it was in the middle of all of that chaos that Jesus extended the invitation and said, "Come." And that word right there changes everything, because it tells us that God is not waiting for your life to calm down before he calls you forward. He is calling you forward in the middle of the storm. He is inviting you into the next level of your faith, not when everything is peaceful, but when everything is turbulent, because the storm is not the obstacle to your next level. The storm is often the pathway to it. Think about what Peter would have missed if he had stayed in the boat. Yes, the boat was safer. Yes, the boat was more predictable. Yes, the boat meant he didn't have to feel the wind on his face or the waves beneath his feet. But the boat also meant he never would have known what it felt like to walk on water. He never would have discovered a dimension of faith that is only accessible when you step out of what is comfortable and into what feels impossible. The miracle was not available in the boat. The miracle was only available in the storm. And I wonder how many miracles we have missed because we kept choosing the boat. How many next levels we never reached because we stayed where it was safe. How many versions of ourselves never came to life because we refused to step into the water when it was rough. Comfort is not the enemy of progress, but our addiction to it absolutely is. When we love comfort more than we love growth, when we value safety more than we value purpose, we will always choose the shore over the deep and wonder why our faith never expands and our life never changes. Because here is what calm water produces in a person: stagnation. And stagnation looks peaceful from the outside, but it is one of the most dangerous places a person of purpose can be. When nothing is challenging you, nothing is changing you. When nothing is pushing you, nothing is growing you. When nothing is making you uncomfortable, nothing is making you more. And a person who is called to do something significant with their life cannot afford to stay in a place where nothing is required of them. Because purpose always requires more than comfort is willing to give. Look at every person in Scripture who walked in significant destiny, and you will find a common thread. None of them got there through easy circumstances. None of them arrived at their purpose through a path that was smooth and predictable and free of difficulty. Moses didn't lead a nation without first spending years in the wilderness. David didn't sit on the throne without first running for his life from the people who wanted to take it. Ruth didn't find restoration without first walking through devastating loss. Esther didn't save her people without first risking everything she had. Every single one of them had to go through water that was rough, seasons that were hard, moments that felt like they were going to break them before they broke through. And that is not a coincidence. That is a pattern. That is God showing us over and over again through the lives of real people that the path to purpose runs through difficulty. That the road to destiny is paved with seasons that ask more of them than they thought they had. Not because God is cruel, not because he enjoys watching his children struggle, but because he knows that the person required to carry the destiny he has prepared cannot be formed in comfort. They have to be formed in the deep. They have to be developed in the storm. They have to be stretched beyond what feels manageable so that their capacity grows to match the size of what God is calling them into. So if your life is turbulent right now, if the water around you is anything but calm, if you feel like you are out in the deep with no shore in sight and the waves are coming faster than you can catch your breath, I need you to hear this. You are not in the wrong place. You are not off course. You are not being punished or forgotten or overlooked. You are being prepared. You are being positioned. You are being developed for something that required this exact kind of pressure to produce the person who can carry it. The calm was never your destination. It was only ever your starting point. And God loves you too much to leave you there. There is something that happens to a person in the middle of a storm that cannot happen any other way. Something shifts. Something rises up from a place so deep inside of you that you didn't even know it was there. And it doesn't happen when life is going well. It doesn't happen when everything is comfortable and predictable and under control. It only happens when the pressure is on, when the weight is heavy, when the situation is bigger than anything you have ever faced before, and you have absolutely no idea how you are going to get through it. It is in that exact moment, that terrifying, overwhelming, I don't know how I'm going to survive this moment, that you find out what you are actually made of. And most of the time, what you find out surprises you, because we tend to underestimate ourselves in seasons of peace. When life is calm, we have no real evidence of what we are capable of. We think we know our limits. We think we know how much we can handle, how much faith we actually have, how deep our endurance really goes. But we don't really know any of that until it is tested. And the storm is the test, not the kind of test that is designed to fail you. The kind of test that is designed to show you something about yourself that you could not have seen any other way. The storm is God holding up a mirror and saying, look at what is inside of you. Look at what you are carrying. Look at what you are capable of. Because I have always known it was there, and now it is time for you to see it too. I think about the people I have watched walk through impossible seasons. People who lost everything. People who faced diagnoses that had no good prognosis. People who watched their marriages fall apart, their businesses collapse, their families fracture in ways that seemed completely beyond repair. And in the beginning of those storms, if you had asked them whether they were going to make it, most of them would have told you they didn't know. Most of them would have said honestly, I'm not sure I have what it takes to get through this. And yet they did. Not because they were superhuman. Not because they didn't feel the pain, but because something inside of them that had always been there, something that had been deposited in them by the God who created them, rose up to meet the moment when the moment demanded it. That is not luck. That is not coincidence. That is the faithfulness of a God who does not call you into anything without first putting inside of you everything you need to get through it. And the storm is how you find out what he put in there. See, we spend so much of our lives living beneath our capacity, not because we are lazy or indifferent, but because we have never been in a situation that required us to access what is really inside of us. We operate at a comfortable level because comfortable is all the situation has ever demanded. But God did not design you for comfortable. He designed you for significant, and significant requires access to parts of yourself that comfortable living never unlocks. Those deeper parts, the resilience, the faith, the courage, the endurance, they don't come to the surface when life is easy. They come to the surface when life is hard. And when they come up, when you feel them rise inside of you in the middle of something that should have taken you out, it changes the way you see yourself forever. Because once you know what you are capable of, you cannot unknow it. Once you have walked through a fire and come out on the other side, you carry that knowledge with you into every future challenge. You don't face the next hard thing the same way. You face the last one, because now you have evidence. Now you have proof. Not just the promises of God in a book, although those matter deeply, but personal lived experience that tells you I have been here before. I have been in a place that felt impossible before, and I made it. And if I made it then, I can make it now. That is one of the most valuable things a storm produces in a person. Not just the character development, not just the faith expansion, but the testimony, the concrete, undeniable, personal testimony that becomes your weapon against every future lie the enemy tries to tell you about your ability to survive. When the voice comes and says, you are not going to make it through this, you now have something to point to. You have a moment in your history where the odds were stacked against you and you came through anyway. And that moment becomes an anchor. It becomes a reference point. It becomes the thing you go back to when the next storm comes and tries to convince you that you are too weak, too tired, too broken to keep going. And I want to talk specifically to the people who have been in the storm so long that they have forgotten that strength is still in them. The ones who are so exhausted, so worn down by the length of the battle, that they have started to believe that what they are feeling on the outside, the tiredness, the discouragement, the heaviness, is a reflection of what is on the inside. But feelings are not facts. Exhaustion is not evidence of weakness. The fact that you are tired does not mean you have run out of strength. It means you have been using it. It means you have been fighting. It means you have been holding on through something that would have broken a lesser person, and you are still here. Still here is not nothing. Still here is actually everything, because the enemy's entire assignment was to make sure you were not still here. His plan from the beginning was to use this storm, this exact set of circumstances, this specific combination of pressure and pain and confusion to take you completely out. And it hasn't worked. You are bruised, maybe. You are tired, absolutely. You may be standing with shaking hands and tear-stained cheeks and a faith that has been stretched further than you ever thought it could go. But you are standing. And that means the storm has not won. What the storm has done, what it is continuing to do even right now, is excavate. It is digging down into you and pulling up things that were buried under years of comfort and routine and self-doubt. It is bringing to the surface a version of you that is more resilient, more grounded, more anchored in God than the version that existed before the storm arrived. And that version of you, the one that is being forged right now, in the middle of everything that is hard, is the version that your destiny has been waiting for. God has always seen this version of you. He has always known that this strength was in you. He put it there himself before you were ever born, before you ever faced your first hard thing, before you ever had any reason to doubt whether you had what it takes. He built you for this. Not for this pain specifically, but for this level of trust, this level of faith, This level of dependency on him that only becomes possible when you have exhausted every other option and he is all you have left. And when he is all you have left, you find out that he was always enough. And you find out something else too. You find out that the strength you thought you didn't have was never really yours to begin with. It was his, deposited in you, available to you, waiting for a moment like this to be revealed. The storm didn't create that strength. The storm just showed you what was already there. There is a particular kind of loneliness that only exists in the middle of a storm. It is not the loneliness of being in a room full of people who don't understand you. It is not the loneliness of a Friday night with nowhere to go. It is a deeper, more disorienting kind of loneliness. The kind that comes when you are in the worst season of your life and heaven feels completely silent. When you have prayed and the ceiling feels like concrete. When you have cried out and the only sound you hear back is the echo of your own voice. When you have read the promises and quoted the scriptures and done everything you know to do, and yet God feels further away in this moment than he has ever felt before. And in that silence, in that terrifying spiritual silence, the enemy shows up with a question. The same question he has been asking since the garden. Did God really say he would never leave you? Did God really say he would be with you in the fire? Because if he is with you, where is he right now? If he loves you, why does this hurt so much? If he is for you, why does everything feel like it is against you? And I need you to understand something about that question before it takes root in your heart. The absence of the feeling of God is not the absence of God. Silence is not the same as abandonment. And the fact that you cannot see what he is doing does not mean he has stopped doing it. Because here is what we have to understand about the nature of God. He is not a spectator. He does not sit in heaven watching your life fall apart with his arms folded and his face turned away. He is not the kind of father who sends his children into hard seasons and then disappears until the hard season is over. That is not who he is. That has never been who he is. And the storms of your life do not change his nature. They do not change his commitment to you. They do not change the fact that at this very moment, in the middle of everything you are facing, he is working. He is moving. He is orchestrating things you cannot see from where you are standing. He is active in your storm, even when every feeling you have is telling you that he is not. Think about the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. 3 men thrown into a fire so hot that it killed the soldiers who threw them in. And from the outside, from the perspective of everyone watching, it looked like God had allowed something horrific to happen to people who trusted him. It looked like their faith had failed them. It looked like the fire was winning. But then something happened that nobody expected. The king looked into the furnace, and instead of seeing 3 men being consumed by the fire, he saw 4 men walking around in it, unbound, unharmed. And the 4th one, he said, looks like the Son of God. I need you to sit with that for a moment. God did not show up before the fire. He did not prevent the fire. He did not put the fire out from a distance. He got in the fire with them. He was present in the place that was supposed to be the place of their destruction. And not only was he present, he was so present that the fire that was designed to consume them could not even touch them. They came out of that furnace without the smell of smoke on their clothes, without a single hair sinned. The only thing the fire burned was the ropes that had them bound. And that right there is the testimony that God wants to write in your life through this storm. Not just that you survived it, but that you came out of it free from things that had you bound before you went in. The storm is not just a survival story. It is a liberation story. And God is not absent from it. He is in the middle of it, working in ways that your natural eyes cannot perceive, burning away the things that were limiting you, loosening the things that were holding you back, making sure that when you come out on the other side, you are more free than you were when you went in. We see this same truth in the life of Joseph again. When Joseph was in the pit, When his brothers had thrown him in and were sitting down to eat bread, while he cried out from the bottom of that hole, it looked like God was nowhere to be found. It looked like God had allowed the cruelest possible thing to happen to a young man who had done nothing to deserve it. But the scripture tells us something profound. It tells us that the Lord was with Joseph in the pit, in the slavery, in the false accusation, in the prison. In every single painful stop on that journey, God was not watching from a distance. He was right there, actively working, actively positioning, actively turning what the enemy meant for evil into the pathway to purpose. And I want to ask you something personal today. What if the thing you are going through right now, the thing that feels like God has forgotten you, what if that is actually the place where he is most present? What if the silence you are experiencing is not the silence of his absence, but the silence of his concentration? Because when God is working on something significant, when he is doing something in your life that requires precision and care and intentionality, sometimes it gets quiet, not because he has left, but because he is focused. He is building something in the unseen that is going to show up in the scene at exactly the right moment. And I know that requires a level of trust that does not come easy, especially when you are hurting, especially when you have been waiting a long time, especially when you prayed for something specific and what showed up looked nothing like what you asked for. Trust in the middle of confusion is not a small thing. It is one of the hardest things a human being can do, but it is also one of the most powerful things a human being can do. Because when you choose to trust God in the dark, when you choose to believe that he is working, even when you cannot see the work, you are exercising a level of faith that moves things in the spiritual realm that nothing else can move. The disciples were in a boat in the middle of a storm, and Jesus was asleep. And their question to him when they woke him was the same question we ask in our storms. Don't you care? Don't you see what is happening? Are you not concerned that we are about to go under? And I love what Jesus did not do in that moment. He did not apologize for being asleep. He did not say, "You're right, I should have been paying more attention." He got up. He spoke to the wind and the waves, and then he asked them a question that cuts right to the heart of everything. Where is your faith? Not where is your plan? Not where is your strategy? Not where is your backup option? Where is your faith? Because faith is the thing that changes the atmosphere of a storm. Faith is the thing that reminds you that the one who is in the boat with you is bigger than anything the storm can throw at you. And he is in the boat. He has always been in the boat. He was never not in the boat. The storm did not chase him away or catch him off guard or cause him to question whether he made the right decision getting in with you. He is there, steady, present, and fully aware of everything you are facing. So in the moments when the storm is loudest and heaven feels most silent, I need you to make a decision, not a feeling, not an emotion, a decision to believe that God is not absent, that he is not indifferent, that he is not overwhelmed by what is overwhelming you. That right now, in this very moment, in the middle of everything that feels out of control and uncertain and too heavy to carry, he is there, and he is not just watching, he is working. He is moving. He is turning things around in ways you cannot see yet. He is setting up a moment that is going to make everything you went through make sense. He was never absent. He has been active the entire time. So I need you to hear me as I bring this to a close. Everything we have talked about today, every keynote, every truth, every word that landed in your spirit, it all points to one thing. Your storm is not random. It is not a mistake. It is not evidence that God has lost track of you or changed his mind about you or decided that you are too far gone to be worth fighting for. Your storm is purposeful. It is processed. It is supervised by a God who has not taken his eyes off of you for a single second of this entire journey. The storm did not come to destroy you. It came to develop you. It came to strip away everything that was never really you. It came to build the strength that comfort could never produce. It came to take you into deep water because your destiny was never on the shore. It came to reveal what was already inside of you. And it came as a reminder that the God who created you is not sitting at a distance watching you drown. He is in the water with you. He has been there the whole time. And I know some of you came in here today carrying something so heavy that you weren't sure you were going to make it to the other side of it. I know some of you have been in your storm so long that you have almost made peace with the idea that this is just your life now. But I need you to know that this is not where your story ends. This is not the final chapter. This is the chapter that everything else is going to reference. This is the moment that is going to become the testimony that sets somebody else free. So don't you dare give up now. Don't you dare put down what God has called you to carry. Don't you dare let the noise of the storm drown out the voice of the one who has already ordained your way through it. You are still here. And still here means the storm has not won. Still here means God is not finished. Still here means the best of what he has for you is still ahead. Walk through it. Trust him in it and watch what he does with it.